The billionaire's fiancé abandoned his daughter at an orphanage. A maid exposed the shocking truth on adoption day. When billionaire Marcus Ashford arrived at the orphanage to adopt his 5-year-old daughter Lily, a maid blocked his path at the entrance. Her eyes were filled with tears, her hands were trembling, and in her voice was hidden a dangerous secret that would change Marcus's world forever. The truth that Maid revealed was so shocking that Marcus froze in place. What was that secret? Why did his fiancée Victoria abandon Lily at the orphanage? And why didn't Marcus know anything about it before? Hey everyone! Which city are you watching this video from? New York? Los Angeles? Chicago? Miami? Or maybe somewhere international? Drop your city name in the comments below. I want to know where this heart-wrenching story reaches across the globe. Friends, today's story is one that will keep you glued to your screen from start to finish. This is a story about betrayal, hidden truths, a father's love, and a twist so shocking that you won't see it coming. But before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss stories like these. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now, let's get into the story. Marcus Ashford stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Manhattan penthouse, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars below. At 38 years old, he had everything most men dreamed of: a billion-dollar tech empire, properties across 3 continents, and influence that opened every door. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, his heart was shattered into a million pieces. 3 months ago, his world had been perfect. He was engaged to Victoria Castellano, a stunning socialite from old money who seemed to embody everything he'd ever wanted in a partner. She was elegant, sophisticated, and moved through high society like she was born to rule it. Their engagement had made headlines. "Tech titan finds his queen," one magazine had proclaimed. But there was something Victoria didn't know when she said yes to his proposal. Something Marcus had kept hidden, not out of shame, but out of fierce protection. He had a daughter. A beautiful, bright-eyed 5-year-old named Lily. Lily's mother, Sarah, had been Marcus's college sweetheart. They'd had a brief, passionate relationship that ended when Sarah discovered she was pregnant. Marcus had wanted to marry her immediately, but Sarah had other dreams. She wanted to travel, to be free, to live a life unencumbered by responsibilities. She'd made him promise something that haunted him to this day: she would carry the baby to term and give her to Marcus, but then she wanted to disappear from their lives completely. "Promise me, Marcus," Sarah had said with tears streaming down her face. "Promise me you'll give her everything I can't. Promise me you'll be enough for both of us." He had promised. And when Lily was born, Sarah had held her for exactly 10 minutes before kissing her forehead and walking out of the hospital. Marcus never saw her again. He later learned she'd moved to Europe, living the adventurous life she'd always wanted. For 5 years, Marcus had been both father and mother to Lily. He'd hired the best nannies, read parenting books until 3 a.m., learned to braid hair through YouTube videos, and never missed a single tea party with her stuffed animals. Lily was his everything, his reason for working hard, his motivation for building a better future, his entire heart walking around outside his body. But dating as a single father in the billionaire world was complicated. Women saw either the money or the baggage, rarely the man. When he met Victoria at a charity gala, she'd seemed different. She'd talked about art, philosophy, making a difference in the world. She hadn't asked about his fortune or his portfolio. She'd asked about his dreams. He'd fallen fast and hard. But he'd been careful about introducing her to Lily. He needed to be sure. He needed to know that Victoria would love his daughter as much as he did. So he'd waited, planning the perfect moment to bring his 2 worlds together. That moment came 2 weeks after he proposed. He'd arranged an intimate dinner at his home, had Lily's favorite foods prepared, and bought matching bracelets for both of them. His heart had been pounding with excitement as he imagined his new family coming together. But the evening had been a disaster. Victoria had walked into his penthouse expecting a romantic dinner for two. When she saw Lily sitting at the table in her favorite princess dress, coloring in a book, Victoria's face had gone completely white. "Marcus," she'd said slowly, her voice tight. "Who is this child?" "Victoria, this is Lily. My daughter." "Sweetheart, come say hello to Victoria." Lily had jumped down from her chair, all innocent excitement and joy. "Are you going to be my new mommy? Daddy said you're very nice." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria had stared at Lily like she was a ghost, then turned to Marcus with eyes filled with something he'd never seen before, cold, hard anger. "We need to talk. Alone." What followed was the worst argument of Marcus's life. Victoria had accused him of lying, of trapping her, of ruining everything. She'd said she never wanted children, that she'd chosen him specifically because he'd seemed unencumbered, free to travel and live spontaneously. "I can't believe you hid this from me," she'd screamed. "I didn't hide it, I was waiting for the right moment to tell you. Victoria, please, just give Lily a chance. She's amazing, and I know you'll love her." "Love her? Marcus, I don't want to be a mother. I never have. This changes everything." But after hours of tears and conversation, Victoria had seemed to calm down. She'd apologized for her reaction, said she'd been shocked and needed time to process. She'd asked for 2 weeks to think things through, to figure out if she could embrace this new reality. Marcus had agreed, hopeful that love would win. He'd sent Lily to stay with his trusted housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, at his Connecticut estate, not wanting his daughter to witness any more tension. Those 2 weeks had been torture. Victoria had been distant but had kept in communication. She'd asked questions about Lily, about parenting responsibilities, about their future. Marcus had answered everything honestly, believing they were working through it. Then, 3 days ago, Victoria had called him with news that made his heart soar. She'd said she was ready. She wanted to meet Lily again, properly this time. She wanted to start fresh and build their family together. She asked if she could pick up Lily from Connecticut and bring her back to the city, maybe spend some time bonding during the drive. Marcus had been overjoyed. He'd said yes immediately, believing his fiancée was finally opening her heart to his daughter. That was the last time he saw either of them. Victoria's phone went straight to voicemail. Mrs. Chen confirmed that Victoria had picked up Lily with a suitcase and a smile. But they never arrived in Manhattan. Marcus had called everyone, Victoria's friends, her family, the police. No one knew where they were. For 3 days, Marcus had lived in hell, imagining every possible scenario, each worse than the last. Until this morning, when an anonymous email arrived in his inbox with just 5 words and an address: "Your daughter is in Sunnyside Orphanage." Marcus's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white as he raced through the streets toward Sunnyside Orphanage. The address from the anonymous email had led him to a modest neighborhood in Queens, far from the glittering towers of Manhattan where he lived. His mind was a tornado of fear, rage, and desperate hope. An orphanage. Victoria had left his daughter at an orphanage. The thought made him sick to his stomach. How could someone be so cruel? How could the woman he'd planned to marry abandon a 5-year-old child like she was nothing more than an unwanted package? He'd already called his lawyers, already alerted the police, already set every resource he had in motion. But none of that mattered right now. All that mattered was getting to Lily, holding her, making sure she was safe. The orphanage came into view, a 3-story brick building with faded paint and a small playground out front. It looked clean but worn, the kind of place that survived on minimal funding and maximum heart. Marcus barely put his car in park before jumping out and running toward the entrance. Inside, the lobby smelled like industrial cleaner and old books. Children's artwork covered the walls, colorful drawings of houses and families and sunshine. Behind a desk sat an older woman with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a bun. I'm here for Lily Ashford, Marcus said breathlessly. My daughter. She was brought here, she shouldn't be here. I'm her father. The woman's expression shifted from confusion to recognition. Mr. Ashford? Yes, we've been expecting you. Ms. Castellano told us you'd be coming to complete the adoption process. Marcus felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Adoption process? I'm her father. What are you talking about? The woman stood up quickly, concern flooding her features. Sir, please calm down. Ms. Castellano brought Lily here 3 days ago. She said the child was from a previous relationship and that you'd decided together that adoption would be best for everyone involved. She had documentation, papers that looked legal. Papers? What papers? I never signed anything. Marcus's voice was rising, and he forced himself to take a breath. Where is she? Where's Lily? She's upstairs in the playroom. But Mr. Ashford, before you see her, there's something you need to know. There's been a situation. One of our staff members has been trying to reach you. She said there was something wrong, something about Ms. Castellano's story that didn't add up. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted from the stairs. He heard rapid footsteps, then a voice, small, heartbroken, and achingly familiar. Daddy. Lily appeared at the top of the staircase, her face stained with tears, her princess dress dirty and wrinkled. Behind her, a young woman in a maid's uniform was trying to keep up, clearly having brought Lily down the moment she heard Marcus's voice in the lobby. Marcus's heart shattered. He ran to the stairs and caught Lily as she jumped into his arms, sobbing into his shoulder. Daddy, you came. You came. She said you didn't want me anymore, but I knew she was lying. I knew you'd come. Oh baby, oh Lily, I'm here. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Marcus held his daughter like she might disappear if he let go, tears streaming down his own face. I would never leave you. Never. Do you hear me? You are my whole world. Lily clung to him, her small body shaking with sobs. She was mean, Daddy. Victoria was so mean. She said I was a mistake and that you were going to have a new family without me. She said I'd be happier here with other kids who didn't have parents. Rage like Marcus had never known coursed through his veins. He would make Victoria pay for this. He would make sure she faced every legal consequence possible. But first, he needed to get Lily out of here, take her home, make her feel safe again. As he carried his daughter toward the door, the young maid who'd brought Lily downstairs stepped forward. She was trembling, her hands clasped together nervously. She couldn't have been more than 25, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and eyes that seemed to hold a heavy burden. Mr. Ashford, wait. Please. My name is Elena Rodriguez. I work here, and I need to tell you something. Something about Ms. Castellano. Something I overheard that day she brought Lily here. Marcus stopped, his protective instincts on high alert. What is it? Elena glanced nervously at the desk clerk, then back at Marcus. Not here. There are too many ears. But what I know, it's worse than you think. Ms. Castellano didn't just abandon Lily here. She had a plan. A plan that involves you, and money, and someone else. Someone dangerous. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. What are you talking about? I was cleaning the office when she was doing the paperwork, Elena continued, her voice barely above a whisper. She was on the phone with someone. She thought she was alone. She said. Elena's voice cracked with emotion. She said this was phase 1. That getting rid of Lily was just the beginning. That once the wedding happened and she had access to your accounts, phase 2 would begin. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. Marcus's grip on Lily tightened protectively. What did she say? Elena's eyes filled with tears. She said, "Don't worry. After the wedding, Marcus won't be a problem for long. My brother's already planning the accident. Mr. Ashford, I think Ms. Castellano was planning to kill you." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Marcus couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The woman he'd loved, the woman he'd planned to spend his life with, had abandoned his daughter and was plotting his murder? "There's more," Elena whispered, looking around to make sure no one else was listening. "I looked into Ms. Castellano after I heard that call. I have a friend who's good with computers. Mr. Ashford, Victoria Castellano isn't who she says she is. Her real name is Victoria Russo, and she's done this before. 3 times. 3 wealthy men, all dead within a year of marriage. All ruled accidents. And she walks away with everything." Marcus stood frozen in the orphanage lobby, Elena's words echoing in his mind like gunshots. Victoria was a serial killer. A black widow who'd murdered 3 wealthy men and was planning to make him her 4th victim. The woman he'd introduced to his daughter, the woman he'd been ready to marry, was a monster. "I have proof," Elena said quickly, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. "My friend found newspaper articles, death certificates, marriage records. I was going to go to the police today, but then I found out you were coming to get Lily. You need to see this before you confront her." Marcus gently set Lily down, kneeling to her level. "Sweetheart, can you go with this nice lady behind the desk for just a few minutes? Daddy needs to talk to Elena about some grown-up things, and then we're going home. I promise." Lily's lower lip trembled. "You won't leave?" "Never. I'm right here. You can see me the whole time, okay?" The desk clerk came around and offered her hand to Lily. "How about we get some cookies from the kitchen? I think we have chocolate chip." Lily looked uncertain but nodded, taking the woman's hand while keeping her eyes locked on Marcus. Once they were out of immediate earshot, Elena pulled up her phone and began showing Marcus what she'd discovered. The evidence was damning and horrifying. Victoria Russo's first victim, Thomas Brighton, a real estate mogul from Boston. Married in 2018, dead 6 months later in a accidental fall from his yacht. Victoria inherited $40 million. Second victim, Dr. James Chen, a pharmaceutical executive from San Francisco. Married in 2020, dead 9 months later in a carbon monoxide accident at his vacation home. Victoria inherited $75 million and his company shares. Third victim, Alexander Kozlov, a Russian-American oil tycoon. Married in 2022, dead 8 months later in a car accident on a mountain road. Victoria inherited over $100 million and properties in 5 countries. Each time, Victoria had changed her identity slightly, different last names, modified background stories, but always the same pattern. She targeted wealthy, powerful men, preferably ones without close family who might ask questions. She played the perfect partner for months, married them quickly, then arranged fatal accidents soon after securing her inheritance. How did she get away with it? Marcus asked, his voice hollow with shock. Elena scrolled through more information. Money, connections, and careful planning. Each death happened in a different jurisdiction. The accidents were elaborate and well-timed. And she always had an alibi, she was never there when it happened. The investigations found no evidence of foul play because her brother, Vincent Russo, is the one who actually executes the murders. He's a professional. He makes it look perfect. Marcus felt bile rise in his throat. He'd been so blind, so stupid. All the warning signs he'd missed, how quickly Victoria had wanted to get married, how she'd insisted on him updating his will, how she'd asked so many detailed questions about his business holdings and insurance policies. He'd thought she was just being practical, planning their future. She'd been planning his death. "Why didn't you go to the police immediately?" Marcus asked. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I was scared. You don't understand, Vincent Russo is dangerous. Really dangerous. My friend who helped me research this. She warned me that people who've looked into the Russo siblings before have ended up dead or disappeared. I was trying to figure out the safest way to expose them without putting myself or the children here in danger. But when I saw Lily crying every night, calling for you, I knew I had to do something. I sent you that anonymous email. Thank you, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. You saved my daughter. You probably saved my life. There's something else, Elena continued. I overheard Victoria on another phone call yesterday. She called the orphanage, asking about you. She wanted to know if you'd been by yet to process the adoption. When they told her no, she seemed angry. She said something about needing to speed up the timeline, that she couldn't risk you finding Lily before the wedding. Marcus's mind was racing. When is she expecting me to find Lily? She told the orphanage director that you'd arrive today for the adoption appointment. She set up this whole elaborate story, that you and she had decided together to give Lily up for adoption because she wasn't your biological daughter, that you'd taken a DNA test and discovered your ex-girlfriend had lied to you. She had fake documents, fake test results. She told them you were heartbroken but doing the right thing. The cruelty of it took Marcus's breath away. Victoria hadn't just abandoned Lily, she'd tried to destroy any chance of them reuniting by poisoning the orphanage staff against him, making them think he was a deadbeat father willingly giving up his child. But the director didn't believe her story? Marcus asked. Elena shook her head. Not after I spoke up. I told her something was wrong, that Lily kept insisting her father loved her and would never abandon her. The director agreed to delay the adoption process and try to reach you. That's why they were expecting you today. Marcus pulled out his phone, his hands shaking as he dialed his head of security. When the man answered, Marcus's voice was steel. David, I need you to do 3 things immediately. First, freeze all my accounts that Victoria has access to. Every single one. Second, I need security at my Connecticut estate, my Manhattan penthouse, and Sunnyside orphanage in Queens within the next 30 minutes. Armed security. And third, I need you to contact FBI agent Rachel Morse. She owes me a favor from the cybersecurity case last year. Tell her I have information about a serial killer operating across multiple states. Tell her it's urgent. As David acknowledged the orders and jumped into action, Marcus turned back to Elena. You're coming with us. You're the key witness, and I'm not letting you stay here unprotected. Is there anyone else who knows what you discovered? Just my friend who helped me research, but she's out of the country right now. She went to visit family in Mexico when she realized how dangerous the Russos were. Smart. What about Victoria? Does she know you overheard those phone calls? Elena shook her head. I don't think so. She barely looked at the staff when she was here. We were invisible to her. Good. That gives us an advantage. Marcus's mind was working overtime, formulating a plan. Here's what we're going to do. Victoria thinks I'm coming here today to complete an adoption, to give up my daughter. She doesn't know I know the truth. She doesn't know you contacted me. We're going to use that. Elena looked confused. Use it how? Marcus's expression hardened with determination. We're going to set a trap. 2 hours later, Marcus sat in a secure conference room in his Manhattan office building, surrounded by his security team, his lawyers, and FBI agent Rachel Morse. Lily was safely tucked away in an adjacent room with Mrs. Chen and a child psychologist, being gently questioned about her 3 days at the orphanage. Elena sat next to Marcus, nervous but determined, her evidence spread out on the table before them. Agent Morse was a sharp woman in her 40s with intelligent gray eyes that missed nothing. She'd been studying Elena's research for the past 30 minutes, making calls to colleagues in other field offices, pulling up classified files. Now she looked up with an expression that was part impressed, part furious. Ms. Rodriguez, you've done what 3 different FBI field offices couldn't, you've connected the dots. We've had our suspicions about these deaths, but we've never been able to prove they were connected or that Victoria Russo was behind them. Different names, different jurisdictions, always perfect alibis. The woman is a ghost. Not anymore, Marcus said grimly. She made a mistake. She went after my daughter. And now we have her. Agent Morse nodded. Here's what we know. Victoria Russo and her brother Vincent grew up in a crime family in New Jersey. Their father was a mid-level mob enforcer who taught them the business. When he got arrested and died in prison, Victoria was 16 and Vincent was 19. They disappeared from the mob scene and reinvented themselves. Victoria became a sophisticated con artist, Vincent became a contract killer specializing in accidents. They've been working this Black Widow scheme for at least 6 years, probably longer. How many victims? Marcus asked. We can confirm 3 dead husbands. But there are 4 other wealthy men who died under suspicious circumstances after brief relationships with women matching Victoria's description. If they're all her, we're looking at 7 murders. The number hit Marcus like a physical blow. 7 people dead. And he'd almost become number 8. What's the plan? He asked. Agent Morse leaned forward. Victoria thinks you're going to pick up Lily today and go through with the adoption she arranged. She thinks you believe her story. We need to maintain that illusion while we build our case and locate Vincent Russo. The brother is the key. If we can catch him in the act of planning or attempting to murder you, we can flip him, get him to testify against Victoria. You want to use me as bait, Marcus stated. I want to catch a serial killer who's murdered at least 7 people and stolen hundreds of millions of dollars, Agent Morse corrected. But yes, that requires you playing along until we can spring the trap. Can you do that? Can you face Victoria, talk to her, act like nothing's wrong? Marcus thought of Lily's tears, of his daughter's heartbroken voice saying, "She said you didn't want me anymore." He thought of the 7 victims who'd never gotten justice, whose deaths Victoria had profited from. I can do it, he said coldly. What do you need from me? Agent Morse outlined the plan. Marcus would call Victoria, tell her he'd picked up Lily from the orphanage and completed the adoption process. He'd play the heartbroken father who'd just given up his daughter, devastated but accepting that it was for the best. He'd tell Victoria he needed to see her, to talk about moving forward with the wedding. Meanwhile, the FBI would put Marcus under constant surveillance, track Victoria's movements, and work to locate Vincent Russo. They'd wire Marcus's penthouse and office. Every interaction with Victoria would be recorded. They'd gather evidence of the conspiracy, and when Vincent made his move to kill Marcus, they'd be ready to intercept. How long will this take? Marcus asked. Could be days, could be weeks. Based on Elena's intel, Victoria wanted to accelerate the timeline. My guess is Vincent will make his move within the next week. And Lily? Lily stays somewhere safe, somewhere Victoria doesn't know about. She can't know you have your daughter back, or the whole plan falls apart. Marcus's heart ached at the thought of being separated from Lily again, but he knew it was necessary. I have a secure property in upstate New York. It's under a corporate LLC name, completely off the grid. Victoria doesn't know about it. I can send Lily there with Mrs. Chen and a full security team. Agent Morse nodded approvingly. Good. Now, there's one more element we need to discuss. Ms. Rodriguez, you're a critical witness. Victoria can't know you're involved. You need to go back to the orphanage, continue your job, act like nothing happened. Elena went pale. Go back? But if she finds out? We'll have undercover agents watching you 24/7, Agent Morse assured her. You won't be alone. But we need Victoria to think everything is proceeding normally. Can you do this? Elena looked at Marcus, then back at the agent. Those children at the orphanage, if Victoria or her brother come back looking for evidence, if they think someone knows too much. I can't let them be put in danger. We'll have agents in place, Agent Morse promised. The children will be protected. You have my word. Elena took a deep breath and nodded. Okay. I'll do it. Marcus reached over and squeezed her hand. You're incredibly brave. When this is over, I'm setting up a scholarship fund in your name. And I'm making a substantial donation to Sunnyside Orphanage. Those kids deserve better than what they have. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Just make sure Lily knows how much you love her. Don't let what Victoria did make her doubt that, even for a second. I won't, Marcus promised. The plan was set. Marcus would call Victoria within the hour. He'd play the grieving father, the man who'd just sacrificed his greatest love for what he'd been convinced was the right thing. He'd be vulnerable, emotional, and needy, exactly what Victoria would expect from a man she'd been manipulating. And while Victoria thought she was closing in for the kill, the FBI would be closing in on her. As the meeting broke up and people dispersed to their assignments, Marcus took a moment to step into the room where Lily was coloring with Mrs. Chen. His daughter looked up, her face brightening when she saw him. Daddy! Look, I drew us. You, me, and our house. Marcus knelt down beside her, looking at the crayon drawing of two stick figures holding hands in front of a house with a bright yellow sun overhead. His throat tightened with emotion. It's perfect, baby. Just like you. Are we going home now? Marcus glanced at Mrs. Chen, then back at his daughter. We are, but first we're going to go on a little adventure. How would you like to spend a few days at the house in the mountains? The one with the big fireplace and all the trees? Lily's eyes widened. Really? Can we make s'mores? All the s'mores you want. And Mrs. Chen is coming with you. It'll be like a vacation. But you're coming too, right, Daddy? Marcus pulled his daughter into a hug, breathing in the sweet scent of her strawberry shampoo. I'll come visit very soon. I just have some work to finish in the city first. But I promise you, Lily, I promise on everything I am, you are never going to be away from me again. Never. Do you believe me? Lily wrapped her small arms around his neck. I believe you, Daddy. I always believed you'd come get me. Those words nearly broke him. But Marcus forced himself to stay strong. He had work to do. He had a killer to catch. And he would make Victoria Russo pay for every tear his daughter had shed. Marcus sat in his penthouse that evening, phone in hand, staring at Victoria's contact information. Around him, FBI technicians had finished installing recording equipment throughout the apartment. Agent Morse sat across from him, listening through an earpiece, ready to guide him through the call. This was it. The moment he had to become an actor, had to pretend the woman who tried to destroy his life was still the love of his life. He pressed dial. Victoria answered on the second ring, her voice honey-sweet. Marcus. Darling, I've been so worried. How are you? Did you go to the orphanage today? The concern in her voice was so perfectly crafted, so utterly fake now that he knew the truth. Marcus forced pain into his voice. I did. Victoria, I don't know if I can do this. I just gave up my daughter. My little girl. Oh Marcus, Victoria cooed sympathetically. I know how hard this must be. But you did the right thing. Lily will have a wonderful life with a family who can give her the attention she needs. You and I, we have so much to offer the world together. Children would only hold us back from our dreams. Every word was poison. Every syllable made Marcus want to reach through the phone and throttle her. But he kept his voice broken, vulnerable. I keep thinking about her face when I left. She didn't understand. She thought I was abandoning her. Children are resilient, Victoria said dismissively. She'll forget about you in a few months and bond with her new family. You'll see. And we can finally move forward with our lives. Marcus, why don't I come over? You shouldn't be alone tonight. Agent Morse nodded vigorously, signaling yes. Would you? Marcus asked, injecting hope into his voice. I really need you right now, Victoria. Of course, darling. I'll be there in an hour. And Marcus? I love you. What you did today shows incredible strength and maturity. I'm so proud of you. The call ended. Marcus set down the phone and looked at Agent Morse with disgust. She's proud of me. She thinks I just handed her the keys to my fortune and signed my own death warrant, and she's proud. You did great, Agent Morse said. Now, when she gets here, we need you to have a normal conversation. Talk about the wedding, your future, your feelings about today. We need to see if she gives anything away, if she mentions Vincent or any timeline for what comes next. And if she doesn't? Then we wait. We watch. And we gather evidence piece by piece until we have enough to make the arrest stick. Marcus paced his living room, adrenaline coursing through his veins. What if Vincent makes his move tonight? What if Victoria coming here is part of the plan? We have sharpshooters on the surrounding buildings, agents in the lobby and on every floor, and this entire penthouse is under surveillance. If Victoria or anyone else tries anything, we'll know within seconds. You're safe. But Marcus wasn't thinking about his own safety. He was thinking about Lily, safely tucked away in the mountains with Mrs. Chen and armed security. He was thinking about Elena, back at the orphanage, wearing a wire and pretending nothing was wrong. He was thinking about the 7 victims who'd trusted Victoria and paid with their lives. 55 minutes later, his doorman called up. Mr. Ashford, Ms. Castellano is here to see you. Send her up. Marcus positioned himself on the couch, trying to look devastated and vulnerable. Agent Morse and the technical team had retreated to the surveillance van outside, watching and listening through hidden cameras and microphones. Victoria swept into the penthouse like she owned it, dressed in an elegant black dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She'd stolen that money, Marcus realized. Every designer item she wore, every piece of jewelry, had been purchased with blood money from her victims. Marcus, darling, she said, rushing to him with open arms. You look exhausted. Come here. She pulled him into an embrace, and Marcus had to fight every instinct not to recoil. Her perfume, the same scent he'd once found intoxicating, now smelled like decay and death. I don't know if I did the right thing, Marcus said, playing his part. What if Lily needed me? What if I was too quick to give up? Victoria pulled back, framing his face with her hands. Her expression was sympathetic, but her eyes were cold and calculating. Marcus, listen to me. You did what was best for everyone. That child was holding you back. She wasn't even really yours, not biologically. The DNA test proved it. The lie was so bold, so brazen. There had never been a DNA test. Lily was absolutely his daughter. But Victoria had fabricated an entire narrative to justify abandoning a 5-year-old at an orphanage. I know, Marcus said weakly. But I raised her. I loved her. Biology doesn't matter when. Biology matters more than you think, Victoria interrupted, her voice firm. And now you're free. We're free. Free to get married, to travel, to live the life we've always talked about. She moved closer, her voice dropping to a seductive whisper. I was thinking we should move up the wedding. Why wait until June? Let's do it next month. Small ceremony, just us and a few close friends. What do you say? Next month. Accelerating the timeline, just like Elena had warned. Victoria wanted to lock down the marriage and access to his fortune as quickly as possible. Next month, Marcus repeated, as if considering it. That's so soon. Why wait when you know it's right? Victoria pressed. Marcus, I want to start our life together. No more delays, no more complications. Just you and me. She leaned in to kiss him, and Marcus forced himself to respond, to play the part of the grieving man seeking comfort in his fiancée's arms. Inside, he was screaming. This response paused because Claude reached its max length for a message. Hit continued to nudge Claude along. When she finally pulled away, Victoria smiled, a victorious smile that sent chills down Marcus's spine. That's better. Now, why don't you pour us some wine, and we can start planning our wedding? I want everything to be perfect. As Marcus stood and walked to the wine cabinet, Victoria pulled out her phone. He watched from the corner of his eye as she typed a quick text message. His blood ran cold when he saw the name at the top of the screen, Vincent. The message was brief, timeline moved up. Proceed with phase 2. 1 month. 1 month. That's how long Marcus had to live in Victoria's plan. But it was more than enough time to destroy her. The next 2 weeks were the most difficult of Marcus's life. He had to maintain the charade with Victoria, pretending to be excited about their accelerated wedding while agents worked around the clock to locate Vincent Russo and build their case. Victoria came to dinner 3 times a week, spent weekends at the penthouse, and inserted herself deeper into Marcus's business affairs. She suggested he update his will, just to make sure everything is in order before the wedding. She asked about his life insurance policies, his offshore accounts, his estate planning. Every question was a red flag, every suggestion a piece of the murder plot. But Marcus played along, feeding her carefully crafted information while the FBI documented everything. Meanwhile, Elena continued her work at the orphanage, quietly gathering additional evidence. She discovered that Victoria had bribed the orphanage director with $50,000 to process Lily's case quickly and quietly, with falsified documents. The director, now cooperating with the FBI in exchange for immunity, provided bank records and emails that showed Victoria's systematic planning. The break in the case came on day 14. Vincent Russo, thinking he was being clever, had rented a storage unit under a fake name to house his accident planning materials. But he'd made one critical mistake: he'd paid for it with a credit card connected to a shell company that was ultimately traceable. When FBI agents raided the unit, they found a treasure trove of evidence, detailed plans for Marcus's accident, tools of the trade, and most damning of all, trophies from previous murders. Vincent had kept personal items from each victim: watches, wedding rings, photographs. The man was not just a killer, he was a serial killer who enjoyed his work. Vincent was arrested attempting to board a flight to the Cayman Islands. Within hours of his arrest, faced with overwhelming evidence and the prospect of the death penalty, he agreed to cooperate. He gave the FBI everything: detailed confessions to all 7 murders, Victoria's involvement in planning each one, bank account information showing how they'd split the profits, and most importantly, recordings he'd secretly made of his conversations with Victoria as insurance, in case she ever tried to betray him. Agent Morse called Marcus with the news at 2 a.m. "We have enough. We're moving in to arrest Victoria at dawn." "Where is she now?" "She went back to her apartment tonight. She said she needed to handle some wedding planning." Marcus felt a surge of relief so powerful it made him dizzy. "It's really over?" "It's over. Vincent's testimony combined with the physical evidence and the recordings is airtight. Victoria Russo is going to prison for the rest of her life, and so is her brother. You're safe. Lily's safe. And 7 victims are finally getting justice." When the FBI arrested Victoria at her luxury apartment the next morning, she remained calm and composed, right up until they played Vincent's recordings. The moment she heard her brother's voice detailing their conspiracy, laying out every murder they'd committed together, her mask finally cracked. She screamed, threatened, and then tried to bargain, offering to provide information about other criminals, other crimes, anything to reduce her sentence. But there would be no deals. Victoria Russo had murdered 7 people and traumatized an innocent child. She would face every consequence. The trial was a media sensation. The billionaire black widow who'd seduced and murdered wealthy men across the country. Marcus testified about how Victoria had abandoned Lily at the orphanage as part of her scheme to eliminate complications before the wedding. Elena testified about the phone calls she'd overheard, earning praise from the judge for her courage. The families of Victoria's previous victims attended every day of the trial, sitting together in solidarity, finally getting to see the woman who destroyed their lives face justice. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. 7 counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, child endangerment, and a dozen other charges. The judge sentenced Victoria to 7 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. Vincent received the same. "You are predators of the worst kind," the judge said at sentencing. "You targeted vulnerable people seeking love and companionship, and you destroyed them for profit. You even weaponized an innocent child in your schemes. This court finds no redeeming qualities in either of you. You will spend the rest of your lives in prison, and the world will be safer for it." As they led Victoria away in handcuffs, she turned and looked at Marcus one final time. There was no remorse in her eyes, only cold calculation, even in defeat. Marcus felt nothing but relief that she was gone. 3 months later. Marcus sat on the floor of his Connecticut estate playroom, surrounded by Lego blocks, stuffed animals, and the most precious thing in his world, his daughter. Lily had adjusted remarkably well to being home. With the help of a wonderful child therapist, she'd processed her trauma from the abandonment and the orphanage. She still had occasional nightmares, but they were becoming less frequent. Most importantly, she knew without question that her father loved her and would never leave her. "Daddy, is this tower tall enough?" Lily asked, showing him her elaborate Lego creation. "It's perfect, sweetheart. Just like you." Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway with a smile. "Mr. Ashford, you have a visitor. Ms. Rodriguez is here." Elena had become a regular presence in their lives over the past months. Marcus had kept his promise. He'd established a scholarship fund in her name for children transitioning out of foster care, and he'd donated $5 million to Sunnyside Orphanage to renovate the facilities and expand their programs. But more than that, Elena had become a friend, and Lily had become attached to the young woman who'd saved her. "Elena." Lily jumped up and ran to hug her. "Did you bring the cookies you promised?" "Of course I did. Chocolate chip, your favorite." As Marcus watched his daughter laugh and play with Elena, surrounded by the security and love she deserved, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. Yes, they'd been through hell. Yes, Victoria had nearly destroyed everything. But they'd survived. They'd gotten justice. And they'd come out stronger. His phone buzzed with a message from Agent Morse. Victoria's appeal was denied. "She'll never see the outside of a prison cell. You can finally move on." Marcus smiled and set the phone aside. He was already moving on. Every day with Lily was moving on. Every moment of healing was moving on. Every laugh, every hug, every bedtime story was a victory over the darkness Victoria had tried to bring into their lives. "Daddy, come play." Lily called. "We're building a castle." "I'm coming, princess." And as Marcus joined his daughter on the floor, building castles out of Lego blocks and dreams out of second chances, he knew that they were going to be okay. No, they were going to be better than okay. They were going to be happy. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something deep in your soul, I need you to do something for me right now. Don't just watch and leave. Take action. First, hit that subscribe button. This channel brings you powerful, emotional stories that make you think, make you feel, and sometimes make you see the world differently. By subscribing, you'll never miss another story that could change your perspective. Second, smash that like button if this story gripped you from start to finish. Your likes tell me what kind of content resonates with you, and it helps this video reach more people who need to hear this message about protecting the vulnerable and recognizing predators. Third, and this is crucial, share this video. Share it with your friends, your family, your social media followers. Why? Because stories like this are based on real patterns of abuse and manipulation that happen in the real world. There are real predators out there who target vulnerable people, who manipulate and destroy lives. The more people who understand these patterns, the more people who can recognize warning signs, the more lives we can protect. Fourth, drop a comment below. Tell me, what shocked you most about this story? Have you or someone you know ever experienced manipulation in a relationship? What do you think should happen to people who abandon or abuse children? What city are you watching from? I want to see how far this story reaches. Fifth, if you or someone you know is in an abusive or manipulative relationship, please reach out for help. Contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233, or visit their website at thehotline.org. You deserve safety. You deserve love. You deserve better. And finally, turn on that notification bell so you're alerted every time I post a new story. These aren't just entertainment, they're lessons about human nature, about justice, about love and survival. Remember, Marcus fought for his daughter. Elena risked everything to expose the truth. 7 victims finally got justice. And you, yes, you, by watching this video and engaging with it, you're part of spreading awareness about predatory behavior and the importance of protecting the innocent. So I'm asking you one more time, are you subscribed? Have you liked this video? Have you shared it? Have you commented? Do it now. Do it for Lily. Do it for every child who's been abandoned or abused. Do it for every person who's been manipulated by someone they trusted. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay safe, trust your instincts, and never stop fighting for the people you love. This is your host, signing off. Peace.